Welcome to the stateless code video. This is part of a series I do called How the Sausage is Made. So I typically make coding videos, and occasionally I will record a video of kind of what I use as my own process to do this behind the scenes. I'm not a wizard when it comes to video editing. It's not something that I'm great at, but I know enough to be dangerous, and as I occasionally make improvements and that sort of thing, I will take an opportunity to try to make a video of it so that others can potentially benefit from what I'm learning as a very, very amateur video editor. So as you can see, I use OpenShot as my video editing software. And what I'm going to do in this video is show how I have started to use OpenShot, what I like to call the way of the waveform, to edit out the dead air that sometimes occurs in my video. So I make coding videos. Sometimes an error will occur, and it takes me several seconds to process what's going on. And I try to leave the mistakes in the videos because I think the viewers can benefit from those mistakes. But I also have realized, as I've made hundreds of these, that the feedback I've gotten is you don't need to leave the dead air in here. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of show you how I used to do things. If you look at some of the earlier videos where I just kind of threw it all in there and didn't really, it was essentially one take, I mean, without any sort of editing down. So I'm gonna get the videos here. I'm gonna use Control F to bring in some files from my screencast raw directory. What I'm going to be doing is editing the nerddice.com episode 58. So app layout, install, configure, get Docker files, push, pull request, finish up. So this is what, eight-ish files. And then I have my no-sing intro, the nerddice.com outro, my normal stateless code outro, and maybe, depending on how much time I cut out of this, the nerddice.com 2025. So all those will go in as clips. And I'll first show what I had been doing for kind of the first almost 300 videos. So I'm going to start with the no-sing intro here, throw that on the timeline, and then I would just go A, B, C, etc. You get the idea. I'll get the rest of these on here. So sometimes it's hard to get these onto the canvas here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. I'm going to set the clip here, go to the end, and then use Control W to get it on the timeline. Back on track 3 here. So as you can see, I'm right around, before doing anything here, right at over an hour and 11 minutes, which makes for a very, very long YouTube video. So I'm going to kind of get everything back off of the canvas and start over here. The intro and most of work. Little did he know. I'm going to start here, and we are going to, I typically go down to, I had that one straggler clip on my timeline here. So I typically go down to around where it gives me 4-second increments in how it looks. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to display, and I'm going to choose show waveform here. This typically takes a few seconds to get everything showing here. But what I can do now is I can see, for example, I paused before I started speaking here. I'm going to go use the scissor tool and cut that. That gives me about 3 seconds here. Snap the clip into place, and then I'll go and find other spots here. This is roughly 3 or 4 seconds where I'm not saying anything. So we'll take a look at it. Our little epic here to upgrade, and there isn't really, actually this is, I want to zoom out one more click here. This might not be enough to warrant. Let me throw on my headphones and listen here. Our little epic here to upgrade Rails from 7.0 to 8.0. Yeah, that's kind of right on the edge of what I'd consider something that is a candidate for trimming. Keep looking on. So here is a little longer spot. And when I see one of these spots here, so we'll take a look at this one and record it back. Still had a few other things that, yeah, so that was just a kind of no value add, fairly long pause. So I'm going to take the scissor tool here. I'm going to give myself a little bit of room here so that it still has the expected word cadence here. And I'm going to remove that clip, nudge everything to the left. And I'm going to keep doing that. You can see there are spots here and here and here where this continues to happen. And if you do get one of these spots here, what I want to look for is there anything that is visually interesting to the user, or am I just reading a screen or taking a fairly long pause before I think of what I'm going to say next? So here we look, and there really isn't much interesting going on here. So I can just cut that out and slide the clip over. If there are things that are interesting going on, I don't know, maybe I'll run a command or I'll type something out and there's a long area of silence. I also have the ability, and if I find one, once I'm going to kind of stop the video. You get the idea on how this works. When I get to one of those spots where I think it'll make sense, I'll show one of the other things you can do is you can speed up a clip if there's no audio on it. So you take the clip, you cut it, and then you can, I'll even though, yeah, I think I'll be okay here. So an example of if I wanted to speed something up, even though this isn't an actual candidate for it, I'll cut it, and then I'll right click on it, and we'll go to time, fast forward, and I typically do 2 times or 4 times. We'll do, say, 4 times here, and you can see that it, oh no, I had another clip selected. One of the problems with OpenShot is that undo is really iffy. So I'm going to try to undo. It did not work. I've got stuff way out on the horizon here. So here is an example of a pretty bad problem I've caused. I can't undo this. Oh, let's see if I can do reset time. There, that has saved me. So here you can see the clip that I actually care about now is down to 1/4 of the allotted time. I'm just going to delete it from the timeline here and be done with it. I'm going to go back now and maybe edit out some of these. And then when it's time to see one that actually has a need for speeding up the clip, I'll bring that back. Another thing, as you noted, or as you may have noted as I was doing this, OpenShot doesn't undo things very well. So one of the things that I want to do now, and I should have done at the beginning here, is I'm going to save my project. So I'm gonna here have this, and I'm going to call this NDDC 058 V1. And the reason why I've got V1 here is that the occasional, as I do this, and I'll probably be able to demonstrate it later on, even with, I've got an AMD 7950X processor with 32 cores and a 9070 graphics card. Eventually, you'll have, if you do this, you'll have so many clips that OpenShot will start to freak out. And what I have to do at that point is kind of take what I've got, export that as a video, and then go back and continue editing, importing the exported video instead of the whatever 60 clips that I've got because I've split things up. So I'll start continuing on removing some more of these empty spots here and be back if there's something notable for the viewer. While I'm out of here, I'm going to point out another thing that I've started doing. So at right around 4:45 in this video, I switched to a different topic. So I'm going to pull up Sublime Text here, and what I'll do is I'll keep the ongoing timestamps of when topics and chapters come up in my video and start doing that as I go along. So before, I was kind of doing my video editing and then kind of rewatching the video. I was obviously doing much less video editing, or less detailed video editing, but now I'm kind of writing my chapters of my video description out as I'm doing it. So this is just Sublime Text, and I go kind of in the format of hour, minute, seconds when I add a new chapter or reach a new topic that warrants a chapter in the YouTube video. Back with another quick productivity hack. So I had been going in, and when I want to make a change using the razor tool, I've been going up, clicking the razor tool, making my change, clip, untoggle the razor tool. I've discovered a better productivity way to do that. So instead of doing that, you put your playhead where you want to make your cut. And I'm already doing this anyway because I'm checking to see whether there's anything in the area I want to cut that's visually interesting. And so you do this, and on a PC and Ubuntu, or Linux, I'm using Ubuntu Linux, you do Control-K here. For a Mac, I imagine it would be Command-K. And then you move the playhead to the other place you want to cut, and you do Control-K again. And that is far fewer keystrokes. You're not moving the mouse over and moving the mouse back, less chances for leaving something toggled when you don't want to, etc. And you're more productive, less error prone. So share that with you. So I found an example of a place where it might make sense to speed things up rather than just cutting things entirely. And this is an illustration of one of these places where I'm able to cut a lot of unnecessary non-value add stuff from the video. If you're in a situation where it matters for you to slightly jump from point to point while your video is occurring, this probably isn't the best fit for you. If you're somebody like me who just kind of throws a picture of yourself in the lower right hand corner of your videos, I think that the benefit outweighs the cost in terms of occasionally I'll like max headroom jump here and there a little bit, but I think overall it's not too distracting to the viewer. You can tell me differently in the comments of my videos if that really does bother you, but I think overall it winds up with a tighter video and the visual distraction is justified in this case. So we're going to go and we're going to cut this one, move the playhead, cut this one, cut this one, cut this one, go down, click on this, hit backspace, backspace, move my videos back along the timeline. And this is the example. So if you can see here, I'm in the right-hand side of the screen, consolidating the kind of getting rid of the white spaces between the lines. So I'm going to keep that around, but we're going to speed that up a bit. So we're going to, oh, back to the old ways. I just started toggling the razor tool with the mouse. Old habits die hard. All right, so I've got this. I think 2 times speed is probably going to be the best here. Four times might be a little jarring for this, at least. And there we can go. So you can see I essentially cut 20 to 25 seconds of non-value add time out of the video. And this will probably happen at various points throughout the video editing process for this video. So hopefully that hour and 18 minutes or whatever we started off with will be able to show substantial savings by the end of the editing process on this. All right, so I've got the first one of these clips done now. You can see from looking at the timeline here that I'm moving along where my cursor is with this plus sign, that there are a lot of clips here. It hasn't done the thing yet where it says Python isn't responding and wait for it to respond, but we're gonna kind of get ahead of that, and we're going to export the edited down version of this first clip of the video, which shaved off around 3 minutes out of 3.5 minutes. So it was around 14.5 beginning, and now it's down to just over 11. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into file, or actually I just usually use Control E to export, and all that is fine. It'll go into my videos item here. I'm going to use the VA API. I've got an AMD card and an AMD processor. If you have an NVIDIA card, I think the NVENC encoder will do better for you. And then we'll click export here. While our video is exporting, let me take a few moments to tell you about stateless code. So I learned how to code in the wild, mostly self-taught, and what I try to do is provide the resources that I wish I had when I was starting out. We have a lot of end-to-end projects where everything from project planning to the execution, the whole shebang is done there. I have a playlist, Why Stateless Code, that kind of goes into why I do some of those things. If learning how to code is something that interests you, I encourage you to subscribe and follow us and level up your coding and code along with us. Now, back to the video. All right, so the clip is exported, and we'll click done here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to close the project. I'll just quit. Get Sublime out of the way here. Launch it back up. And the reason why I'm doing this, let me make sure it's aligned properly so I'm not blocking the... All right, so we're going to start off now with a new project, and we're going to take the video from the previous project. We're going to hit Control F here to import the files. So we just need, we need video 58B, because this one's also like 10 minutes long, so I don't need to get any of the other ones. And then we'll go into videos where this was exported, and we want 58v1.mkv. So we're closing the project, opening up a new project. We will save this new project as v2, and then we pull in v1 as the first track. Move the playhead to the end here. Control W to add to the timeline. Move this to track 2. We'll snap it to make sure that it is in the right place, in theory. Now it's snapped. And then we don't need to show the waveform on the first one anymore. And then we'll display the waveform on the second clip. And then I'll get back to like that 4-second-ish interval here, right around here. And then rinse and repeat this process for the remaining clips until we're done. One more tip for when you're speeding something up. You can see here, or maybe you can't, that there are a couple of little blips here, which I think are key presses. When you're speeding something up, the audio kind of gets weird. So what I'm going to do here is, before speeding that up, and I would recommend doing this even if that thin line there is very thin, it's just your background noise or whatever. So we're going to hit Control-K here and move to the place where we want to end. Control-K again. And what I'm going to do before I speed up the clip, I'm going to go and highlight the clip, volume, entire clip, level 0. You can see the little blips and stuff like that disappear out of the clip. And then I can go fast forward 2x, which I think is covered by my picture here, but that's what I did, was fast forward 2x in the menu. And then you can move things over. And that way you don't get like weird audio artifacts when you're speeding stuff up. One more thing that came up with regard to speeding up clips, I'll play the section here where I'm going through and clicking through a directory structure in the Rails repository. Rail ties and lib Rails generators Rails. You get the idea. So what I've done is I've clipped all these different things, and this is probably too little to be worth the trouble unless you've got a really short video. So this is more just for teaching and illustrative purposes. So what I'm going to do is you can do this and apply it to a series of clips at once. So I'm going to select all of these different clips here where I'm got no audio and I'm intending to speed them up. I'm going to go volume entire clip 0, and then time fast forward 2x. And now I can go in and, oh, it just crashed on me. So maybe you don't do that. Stick with one at a time. So one thing to note here, I'm going to show what happens when you start to get too much going on. You can see here it's trying to autosave and it says Python 3 is not responding. It does save, other than you can see there is a risk of it crashing from earlier when I tried to change the timeline on change the speed of multiple clips at once. But when it gets to this point, you're better off to re-export the video and continue on in your editing. You're risking crashing and damaging things at this point, and the computer is having a hard time to keep up. So this is why periodically, you can see I'm on version 5 of this right now. Every so often, export and then continue on from where you were so that you don't overtax your computer. I've got a fairly well-performing system in terms of hardware. If you've got more hardware limitations, you might have to do this more frequently, or you might have to kind of not be able to rely on heavy editing with the waveform style. All right, so we're ready to do our final export of this video. We can see up here, we went to a version 6 on this, and it wound up, we started with 1 hour and 11 minutes, so 71 minutes, and we're down to just over 40 minutes. So we've cut over half an hour of dead air out of that video. And a video, I mean, it's a beefy video. There's a lot going on in it, but a an hour and 10 minutes versus 40 minutes is a huge difference for somebody to watch and code along with. So now we're going to do the export of this. So I'm going to hit Control E to export. I'm going to paste in my name for the file. This is just kind of my naming convention for this series. And we're going to pick the VA API 264 for an MKV. And we've already done an export in this video. We'll pick this back up after the export is done, and I'm going to use HandBrake to transcode that down so that it's a smaller file size when I upload it to YouTube. So my video's done exporting. I'm going to click Done here, close OpenShot. Now I'm going to open HandBrake, get that onto the correct screen here. And I'm going to open my source file, 058, there it is. And then for the preset, I'm going to pick Matroska, and then H.264 1080p 30. I'm already have the correct destination file done there, and I'll click Start. You can see it goes pretty quickly here. So while this is exporting, if you want to see more videos from Stateless Code, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If this was valuable to you, hit the like button, and feel free to provide us with suggestions or comments or other things there. We appreciate the engagement and your attention. I'll link the file that I edited down here in the description, and then I'll also link to my How the Sausage is Made playlist. I don't know how much more OpenShot I'll do, but it's one of those things. I think of something, I think it might be beneficial to somebody else, I'll record a video on it. Sometimes those things get single-digit views, sometimes they get thousands of views. It's really hard to predict. So maybe we'll see more OpenShot, maybe we won't. Stay tuned.
Want to create your own Ruby gem but don't know where to start? Code along with me on the end-to-end journey of the Nerd Dice project. We'll configure and publish the gem, use GitHub Actions to trigger builds and tests, and create magic methods with Ruby metaprogramming that can roll any number of dice, all while using a test-driven approach. Go to statelesscode.com/nerddicegem to level up.
Thanks for watching this Stateless Code video. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and spread the word. Check out our growing library of videos on our social media channels. Follow us at Stateless Code, and Taxation is Theft. At the state.